How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, and today we have some pretty big Spider-Man leaks, and they're different than we've really had before in the fact that they actually describe why some things that are going to happen in Spider-Man No Way Home are actually happening, specifically in regards to not just the main villain, but the other villains as well, because as most everybody knows, there have been a lot of villains reported and rumored to be in this movie. It's almost going to be an unofficial Sinister Six, or an official Sinister Six if they decide to call them that. And as far as how all of these other villains are coming into the MCU after dying, this plot leak does a pretty good job of explaining. And it also does a pretty good job at explaining why they still want to kill Peter Parker. So these are multiple leaks compiled together by somebody who the internet seemingly trusts right now. They're coming from Reddit user Spidey Forever 245. So as usual, I'll go over all of the leaks first, and then we'll talk about what it means, and I'll give you my opinion on them after. And reminder, I'm still doing my Stormbreaker giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe to me and Cosmic Culture, link in the description down below. The giveaway ends at the end of this month. So these leaks are all taken from the same thread, but the person who posted these leaks kind of did a Q&A where people asked him a little bit about the film and he answered some questions. So we'll just go in order of how he gave information. The first thing he says is that there is going to be a rematch between Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Doc Oct. This is pretty cool because there have been a ton of CGI advancements since the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. They are retconning Doc Oct to go insane again with the arms, but they're also going to take a sympathetic angle with him, which kind of makes sense because the last time we left him, if he is from the same Raimi universe, which they go on to answer later, he just lost his wife. Now, this leaker did say that he's not sure exactly where Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man get taken from their movie, like what point in time. But of course, they do get taken from their respective universes and brought into the main MCU. However, it does say that Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin will be in the movie from the Sam Raimi universe. And recently there was another report from Daniel RPK that stated that Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin will be the main villain of this film. And I know a lot of people are asking how, since he died in the very first Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Well, it seems like today we actually kind of have an answer for that. The leak says that the villains are brought back from the dead, but not really. He goes on to explain that at the split second between life and death, the villains were pulled from their homeworlds and into the MCU, so they remember dying and are essentially dead in a sense. So this will apply to Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro. And Alfred Molina already did come out in a very public interview and stated that John Watts told him that they're going to pick up with his character where they left off in that final scene where he's sinking into the water. And that lines up with this because that is right before he died. And with Electro's so-called death, it kind of looks like he could have actually been teleported somewhere else or taken to another universe. It goes on to say that Sandman was killed off screen and remembers his death. It's fair to note that this could be from a different universe, and he said what happened to Sandman applies to the Rhino and the Lizard, meaning they could be in the movie. However, he doesn't specifically say for sure that they are in the movie. But with so many villains being in the movie, it definitely doesn't surprise me at all. Now, it goes on to say that the reason that these villains hate Spider-Man in this movie and are going to try and kill him is because they actually remember Spider-Man as the one who tried to kill them, or actually did kind of kill them. So that's why all of the villains are probably originally going to be going after Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and then the other two, Andrew and Tobey, are going to show up and help because it's kind of their fault too. And then he goes on to say that he believes that Wanda is the one who so-called breaks the multiverse and causes the multiverse trouble to happen. Now, we know that Wandavision, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness are kind of like a three-part movie. Not really as far as the actual story of each individual project is concerned, but simply the effect that they're going to have on the MCU and the universe or multiverse. Now, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the ending of WandaVision, at the end of WandaVision, Wanda gets the Darkhold. Now, for those who may not know what the Darkhold is, it's an insanely ancient and evil single book of spells, sometimes referred to as the Book of Sins. It was actually written by the ancient elder demon god Cthulhu. He was banished to another dimension, and it was kind of made for him to get back into the Earth dimension. So we can see how this book could cause some serious multiverse issues. After all, one of its main purposes is to get an elder demon god from one different reality to another. And not to mention, we did have that Nexus commercial in WandaVision, which could be implying that Wanda is a Nexus being. Now, a Nexus in the Marvel Universe act as the keystones of the multiverse and are crucial to its ultimate coherence and stability. In fact, typically, Nexus beings are watched over by cosmic forces such as the Time Variance Authority, which we are going to see in Loki. Nexus beings can affect probability and thus the future, altering the flow of the universal time stream. And in WandaVision, Agatha did mention that Wanda did a probability hex, although Wanda didn't really know what she was talking about. Maybe it wasn't a hex, but simply the fact that she was a Nexus being. And if she is, all of this tampering with the Darkhold that she's doing could definitely affect the multiverse, and that could cause some pretty big problems for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And this could actually explain why Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, if we're being honest, that was kind of the first dead giveaway of the multiverse or Spider-Verse in No Way Home when Doctor Strange was confirmed to be in the movie. Why else would he be there? He's not really the role model father figure type like Tony Stark was to Peter. He's more of the I have to protect your reality douchebag type. So what this leak actually does tell us is how some of these dead characters can return. And it makes sense. They aren't actually dead. They were taken right before death, right before that very last inch of life was taken from them. Because at this time, there have been several reports stating that Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is indeed going to be the main villain, and he's going to be from the Sam Raimi universe, but how if he died in the very first film? And then Alfred Molina's Doc Oct died in the second Sam Raimi film. And then of course Electro died in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I also think it's safe to say that while these villains are being taken from their respective universes, their Spider-Man are being taken as well, and that's how they all end up in our MCU with Tom Holland. And that explains why these characters would be attacking our Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man. They think he killed them because, let's be honest, a Spider-Man suit is kind of a Spider-Man suit in the eyes of the villains. They see a Spider-Man suit, they see Spider-Man, they want to kill him. But luckily, he'll have some help from some old seasoned veterans. Now, as far as this leak is concerned, I think it does a pretty good job at answering some of the questions that we had about how some of the characters get to our universe, especially after being dead. As with all leaks, you should take them with a grain of salt, but this is really in line with everything that we've heard so far. The villains seem to be the same and obviously line up. Obviously, the Spider-Verse/Multiverse is the same, and how the villains do get into the MCU does line up with what Alfred Molina did say in his interview. How his character was going to be taken from and pick up where they left off in that final moment. Well, how do you pick up from a final moment right before death? You send them into another universe. So let me know what you think about these leaks in the comments down below. Does this make sense to you? And is this something you can get on board with? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU and Spidey news. Don't forget to like the video, and for live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.